What's going on, man?
What's good, Red?
Hey, man, they was clowning you at work today, man.
So?
I mean, we watched the video a couple times, but we really couldn't tell if it was you.
Yo, how's your eye?
Oh, it's cool.
God damn! What's up, Op? What's up, Op? Yo, let me get one of them flyers, man.
Man, I ain't giving you shit. You better get the hell out of here before Cat Pop come out here.
Man, come on, man. Why you gotta be like that, man? I'm trying to come to class, man. Why you acting crazy?
Man, you need to go do that.
Man, I ain't giving him shit.
Man, what? Man, you ain't gonna give me shit. We need brothers to come to class.
Damn, man. Ite me yato me tararo tato.
Man, you fucking racist, man. Give me this goddamn flyer, man. You acting crazy, home.
Man, fuck you. Oh, shit. T-Bo, nigga.
What?
Who? T-Bo.
Oh, damn, I ain't been to class in a minute. Shit. Oh, shit.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Red? Thanks for the bike. What you got on my ties, homie?
I ain't got nothing.
I thought you already collected the time.
I did, but I want Red's 10%.
Stall him out.
What's up, Red? What you got on my ties, homie?
I ain't got nothing, man.
Oh, yeah, you got something.
I ain't got... Hey, man, that's messed up, man.
Shut your ass up or I knock your ass out.
Yo, T-Bo, man, that's messed up, man. Give him his money back.
What money?
You right now. The money.
Hey, man, why ain't y'all help me?
Yeah, man, I paid my tithes.
Man, that's fucked up. If it was y'all, I would have helped y'all.
What about the time he took the ties from me in Rod's backyard?
Oh, that was different.
Man, let's jump him.
Man, sit your ass down, man.
Man, I got mind control over T-Bo. When he here, I pay my tithes. But when he leave, I pay my tithes.
Man, damn, man. I should have just paid my tithes, man.
Man, that nigga gonna cry in the car.
He should have paid his tithes.
Shit, real shit.
This shit is endless. What I speak is the truth. I don't care if it's offensive. 12 rounds hit hard, and this shit gon' go the distance. Way to exit cool, but wait till you see the interest. Know that we them niggas when we walk inside the entrance. Put me as the GOAT, you should be honored to get a mention. All my clips is standard, but I still get extensions. Switch on the big 30, sound like when it's spitting. Album so high, I had to give them an extension. One West till they bury me. Yeah, that's the commitment. Don't trust the soul, niggas purring or they hit.
Get down here to class, 1232 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware.
Shalom, Lord of Christ, to my brothers and sisters, man. Y'all need to come down to 1232 North King Street, where the truth resides, man. ISUPK, Delaware. We definitely represent doing some big things.
202 North DuPont Boulevard in Smyrna, Delaware.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Come and be a part of this rising thing that we got going on here in Delaware.
I hear everybody claiming that they love the Lord and love God and all that. Well, get in here and show it. You know what I mean? The scriptures say faith without works is dead. So if you ain't doing nothing, your faith is dead. So get up and do something. What you need to do is get your ass up and get in the class. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing else. You're sitting home wasting time. Everything is going on around you, and you don't know how to compartmentalize these things. You understand? I'm on my way to class right now, like you should be. You know what I'm saying? Class don't stop for nothing.
I think we got
Let's go. Get up. It's that club, baby. You hear that? We can't sit down to that. Okay.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy, Sheik Luch, LOXD Block, Silverback. Hey, yo, right now I need to shout out the ISUPK classes.
I want to give a huge, big, humongous shout out to all the UPK schools.
Shout out to Black Watch, hosted by General Johanna. Word, I need y'all to check out Cross the Line Radio as well, man. They've been open all week from 7 to 9. They ain't shut down because of the corona, the COVID, and all that. They rockin' strong, you know what I mean?
Think we got a problem, but really it ain't though. It's one of me and these bitches, I count about 3, 4. Think we got a problem, but homie just all talk. He ain't gon' pop a balloon with a pitchfork. Nah, think we got a problem in the club with this dog. Rude boys, dogs, ladies, everybody.
Shalom, Shamar, Al-Thamba, Shumi Hawashad, to the fellas. Salakia, to the brothers. Shalom, Shamar, Al-Thamba, Shumi Hawashad, to the sister, Salakia. It's a little blurry, is it? Nah. Okay, that could just be mine. All right, no sweat. All right, tonight's class is part 2. Monday was part 1 of post-traumatic slave syndrome. This is part 2. Christianity is post-traumatic slave syndrome. And we're going to show through the scriptures, and we're going to show, through research, medical research, that Christianity is post-traumatic slave syndrome. And I want to add that Christianity is Stockholm syndrome just as well. All right, so prepare yourself. If you got to go and get yourself something to sip on, get your precept book. Part 1 was a real good class because it showed the 12 tribes when we was all together and then how it was split. And that information is necessary to understand the New Testament, right? So get your pen, get your precept book, and we'll be right back. And we're going to go ahead and get right into this, that Christianity is post-traumatic slave syndrome. In the building, right? We back in the building. All right, so like I was saying, the first class, we was given understanding that we were in our land We were given laws, we was given statutes, we was given commandments, we was given warning on what we shouldn't do and what we should do. And if we did follow the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, we will be blessed. And if we didn't follow the laws, the statutes, and the commandments, we won't be blessed. All right. And of course, we didn't follow those laws, those statutes, and those commandments. And we reigned, like I said before, we reigned under King Solomon. But King Solomon caused the kingdom to be divided into two. And we went over that in the last class. All right. And that'll be in part 1 if you need to see that. Right. But the conclusion of the matter was this. This is 2 King chapter 17 and verse 18. Hold on. You got that up? Let's get it.
2 Kings chapter 17 verse 18.
Read.
Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight.
So that's very important because we got the understanding that they were broken up into 2 different kingdoms. And Israel was talking about the northern kingdom, right? But then he goes this, and we know this based on context because he says this, read.
There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
There was only the Jews only. They were the only ones that was left. Verse 19.
Verse 19. Also, Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made.
So remember, Judah did the same thing as Israel. Israel was taken out of the Most High sight because of their transgressions, and Judah was the only ones left, and Judah began to do the same thing. So the Most High was angry with Judah just as well. Verse 20.
Verse 20. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. So
now you have both kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, Israel and Judah. They both had fell. But if you go back and recall, we brought up the fact that the Most High had made a promise. What about the promise? The Most High made a promise that what? That he would do this. If you go to Genesis 17 and 7.
It's the book of Genesis chapter 17 verse 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in their generations.
It's very important to understand what he said. It's between the Most High, Abraham, and thy seed in their generations. Not in their generation as in singular, but in their generations as in plural, for an everlasting covenant. So this is an everlasting covenant that he had made with Abraham, and he made with the seed of Abraham. Read.
For an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee.
So we understand that there was the promise. Like I said, go back and take a look at that first class, but I want to make sure that I get the information that was in that's in this part, which is part 2, right? So how will the Most High handle this with both kingdoms? Salakia, I can finish it. I can fix this right here. Yeah. Both kingdoms judged. Both kingdoms had fallen out of the covenant. Both of them had broken the covenant. So what did the Most High do? The Most High said this. If you go to the book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 6, he said this about the northern kingdom. You got it?
God. And she conceived, this is the book of Hosea, chapter 1, verse 6. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, call her name Lo Ruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away.
So we know what happened to, we know what happened. We go into the Apocrypha, the book that they took out. We know what happened to the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom was taken out of the way. And here's a map to show you the route that the northern kingdom took when they left and went over into what we call today the Americans. All right. You got that up? Read.
Verse 43. What book and chapter is this? Salaki, sir.
You got it?
Sir, what book and chapter am I reading from?
It's right there. You can't see it on the screen.
It just says 43.
That's Second Ezra. That's the 10 tribes.
Okay, come on. Book of Second Ezra, chapter 13.
Hold on, Salakia. Wait a minute. Let me I'm trying to see. Do I got it pulled? Yeah, you just going to have to go ahead and read it.
Book of Second Ezra, chapter 13 and 14. It's 13, right?
This is verse 43.
Verse 43. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river.
So this is talking about the 10 tribes, the 10 northern tribes. They entered into the Euphrates by a narrow place of the river. Verse 44. So they entered here, and it says, for the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the floods. So as they came through and around, he held still the floods, meaning he held back the waves, right? Till they had passed over, right? It says, verse 45. You got it out? Let's get it.
Can I read that?
Go ahead, you got it. You can start at verse 40.
Book of Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. Verse 41. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes.
Hold on. And this is the reason why we see the 10 Commandments found in North America, and we see the 10 Commandments found in New Mexico. All right, go ahead.
Which they never kept in their own land. Verse 43. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsarid.
All right, so we understand now that based on the scriptures that they were taken out of the way, they went over into the Americans. They were taken out of the way, right? So now, remember, we talked about that promise, right? We talked about the promise that was made to Abraham. So how is the Most High going to fix this? How would the Most High handle this? Well, let's see. Like we said, in Hosea chapter 1 and verse 6, he said, I will no more have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them out of the way. But verse 7, he says this. Read.
Book of Hosea, chapter 1, verse 7. But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horsemen, nor by horses, nor by her horsemen.
All right, so we know that Judah received that mercy. And when Judah received that mercy, this is how they received that mercy. If you go to the book of Second Ezra, chapter 1, we see that mercy. Just a recap. Remember, this is a recap. Go ahead.
It's the book of Second Ezra. No, Ezra 1.
Like Ezra 1 and 2.
Ezra 1 and 2. This is in the Bible, not the Apocrypha. Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah.
Now notice he's saying Judah. He's not saying Judah and Israel because he's only dealing with the southern kingdom. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites, with all them whose spirit God had raised to go up to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem.
All right, so now we know how Judah had obtained that mercy. And Judah went back into the land. All right? Judah went back into the land. But remember, we spoke about there's tension. It's tension between the two. But the Most High promised that he will make a new covenant. And we see the language in Jeremiah 31 down to verse 36. But the one that I want you to read is Ezekiel 37 and 26.
Book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 26.
Read.
Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them.
So he said that I will make a covenant of peace. But there's tension between the Israelites and the Most High God, because the Most High Power want them to follow the law, statutes, and the commandments, and they not. And he's judging them, and he judged all 12 tribes, remember, and he had mercy on Judah, and he didn't have mercy on Israel. But he said that he wants to make a covenant of peace with them, and it shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. So the Most High is promising this. So how could he make this happen? Well, a mediator, of course. He would send a mediator. A mediator is a person who attempts to make people involved in a conflict come to an agreement. He's the go-between. He's the go-between. So what does Hebrews 9 and 15 says? You got it out?
Book of Hebrews, chapter 9, verse 15.
Come on.
And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal life.
That they might receive the promise of their inheritance. And it's talking about those that transgressed under the first testament. So he's the mediator to come in. All right? He's a mediator that comes in. And now we're about to get in our time traveling machine. And we're going to go up to between 1 AD and 70 AD. All right? Because the only ones that's still in the land, is who? Judah. Judah is the only ones in the land. The 12 tribes, remember, were scattered. And remember, we read that the northern kingdom, which is the 10 tribes, dominantly or predominantly went over to what we call today the Americans. Remember, they went and they dwelled in a region where no mankind has ever been, where no man dwelled. And don't get it misunderstood. We're going to show that all 12 tribes was under the transatlantic slave trade. But what I want you to understand is that all tribes at this time was reduced down to one kingdom, which is the southern kingdom, which is Judah only, which is called the Jews in the New Testament. And they consist of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right. Now, was there some that was there that was from the other tribes? Of course. But dominantly, as Matajiala said, predominantly, it was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But remember, they had companions. They had companions, and we see that in Ezekiel. Can you pull that for me up? I think it's Ezekiel 37 and 20. I want to actually probably go to, matter of fact, can you put, and then you could bring that up on the screen. I'm gonna take this down. I want them to see this because it's really important for them to see this right here. So it's important to know that it was dominantly Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but there was Israelites, and I showed in the first class, in the first part of this, that there was other Israelites that was present with them that allowed Rehoboam to reign over them. But just to show you, to prove that what we're saying to be the case, can you go to Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 15? And if you could pull it up so that they can see it. So remember, because we're about to get into the meat and the potato of it, and you're about to be able to see how post-traumatic slave syndrome works and what it is. I'm gonna give you the definition of it in just a second. All right, that's Ezekiel chapter 37, and we're gonna start at verse 15.
Book of Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 15.
Read.
The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah.
For who?
For Judah.
For Judah. Read.
And for the children of Israel, his companions.
That's what I want you to get out of that. I want y'all to understand. And for the children of Israel, their companions. Because there were other Israelites that was there too. You can take that back down. There was other Israelites that was with Judah. And this is why we see this, what we're about to read right here. This is Luke chapter 2 and verse 36. It says, and there was one, Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was of great age and had lived with her husband 7 years from her virginity. Can y'all see that? So like, yeah, hold on. Pull this up. All right, there you go. So we see that Anna was present during the time that under the New Testament. Remember, this is between 1 AD and 70 AD. But what we're going to get right into it is we're going to get to Yahweh Shah prophesying about us going into the transatlantic slave trade. Luke 21 and 20. Let's get it up. So remember, it was only Judah, Benjamin, and Levi dominantly in the land. Those was the ones that the Most High, that's the southern kingdom, and the Most High had mercy on Judah and brought Judah back out of captivity, right? And had Judah in the land. Israel wasn't in the land. Remember, they were scattered. They had become strangers. So we see in Luke 21 and 20, yes, Yahweh Shah spoke about the transatlantic slave trade. You got it up?
It's the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 20. When ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
So he's saying that, listen, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by the Romans came, Yahweh Shah was letting them know that the Romans is one day going to come and surround us. And when they come surround us, know that destruction is here. Destruction is nigh, right? Verse 21.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Now, when he says flee to the mountains, as you can see in this map, I got this map up here because I want you to see, like, around Jerusalem was mountains. And those mountains led you out of Jerusalem. It led you out into the region, what we would call Africa, or if you go north, it will lead you to the region which we call today Europe, right? So he says, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which be in the midst of it depart out. So if you're in the midst of Jerusalem, leave out of Jerusalem, get out of Jerusalem, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. So if you outside of Jerusalem and you was in countries, Yahweh Shah is saying, don't come back in. He's saying, flee out of Jerusalem when you see it surrounded. And if you outside of Jerusalem, don't come back in, right? Verse 22, Luke, I got it. 21 and 22. He says, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Well, all things had to be fulfilled because if you go to Jeremiah 3 and 18, it says the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom has to be in a land of the north, and they got to be gathered together. Well, guess what? We still on this side, and they on this, Salakia. We were still on that side, and they on this side. So all things had to be fulfilled. So that had to take place. Yahushua had to go to the cross. There's a lot of things that had to take place. But I want y'all to understand, these days of vengeance was the beginning of this trauma that we're getting ready to experience. That's why he says in verse 23, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck. So he's saying destruction to them that have children, and those that have babies that they're breastfeeding. In those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath shall come upon the people. See, we don't never think about it, but it was children involved in these raids by the Romans. It was children involved in this chattel slavery, right? It's children that is involved. Sometimes we just think about the adults. We don't think about that there was children. This is why Yahushua said, woe, the word woe means destruction unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck, right? Then he says, here you go, the transatlantic slave trade. Yahushua spoke about the transatlantic slave trade. And as you can see in the image up here, I have an image of the door of no return. This is the walkway that we went on as we was going to the ships. But he says in verse 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive. Where? Into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we went into captivity into all nations at this point. When we fled out of there, we followed the orders. But as we followed those orders and we went into those other lands, we began to follow the customs of the people. And guess what? The ships came. But I want y'all to see that we have maps, right? This is a map that we didn't make. Esau made this map. And in this map, you can see that Israel is everywhere. All right? Israel is everywhere. And I'm going to zoom in on a couple places here. As you can see right here, you can see it says Levi. Levi. We didn't make these. It says Levi here. It says Ephraim. We didn't make these. Diomi Jews, that's Judah. These are Jews all over Africa, Salakia. This is all over Africa. We didn't make this. We didn't do this. This shows that what we left Israel, we left Judah, and we dispersed throughout the land. We dispersed throughout the continent that we call Africa. We didn't make this. We didn't put this together. Esau put this together, and he used this to track us. He used this to track us. So this is that trauma. Trauma is an emotional response. Trauma is not just physical injury, but it's emotional. So not only did we go through the physical, but we went through the emotional too. The emotional response to a terrible event that that's really overwhelmed our ability to cope. Just think about it. Just think about it. You're in your home. You have your land, you have your house, and all of a sudden, think of your home now, all of a sudden you just gotta leave. You gotta go. You gotta flee. And if you don't flee, you're gonna be raped, beaten, and sold. But guess what? Yahushua warned us. He warned us about this in the Old Testament, in the book of Leviticus, chapter 26 and verse 32. Listen what it says. Now, this was prior to, this was under the Old Testament, right? under that Old Testament, he says, I will, if we didn't follow his laws, statutes, and commandments, says, and I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathens, and I will draw out the sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and the cities shall be waste. So we was warned, and we was told not to do this. So like I said, we fled into the west coast of Africa. As you can see in this map right here, it shows you how we fled, right? Let's see if I can give y'all some more on that. Hold on. As you can see, we fled, right, from Israel. So we fled all down here to the west coast of Africa, right? That's what we did. And when we did that, we formed a place called Negro Land, Salakia. We formed a place called Negro Land. And as you can see, Negro Land right here on the map, on Negro Land, there was a place that was called the Kingdom of Judah, and we were there. So you know what we about to do? We about to get in that time machine, and we about to go up to 1493, right? AD. And we get ready to go to this trauma that was so catastrophic, this event that was so major and so catastrophic that it erased our minds, it erased our future, it erased our presence in so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, right? Now, when they did this, they used something called the law. I'm gonna need you now. They use laws. This is what Esau does. He used laws, and then he teach you his laws, and he says that his laws is accurate, just like Yahweh Shah, just like Yahweh. Yahweh has laws, he has statutes, and he has commandments. All right? So now, I'm going to show you Esau testify in his own words. Esau is going to testify in his own words about this document in this law I'm getting ready to show y'all, Salaki. All right? You pull him up. So add to the screen. All right. So this is, of course, is Esau. And he's getting ready to tell you about a document called the document it's called the 1492 document of discovery. It is called the 1492 paper bull. All right. And he's getting ready to talk about and speak about this actual document. All right. So I'm getting ready to play him. So it's like a 2-minute video. All right. That I'm going to play. So listen very carefully, because they have a strategy on how they did it. They always did this the same way. All right. Here we go.
And I do have to say to you that when I found out that the colonizing of the world was instigated, purposely put in motion, and planned to the nth detail by the then head of the Catholic Church, there are several different messages or edicts that were signed at that time and circulated amongst the European powers. The year of this one is January 8th, 1455. So what has this got to do with the Vedic culture, you're thinking? Well, this is the historical moment in which European countries were sent out into the world by ship with a mandate from the Pope in the Vatican through his papal bulls, giving them permission to colonize, pillage, occupy, enslave, and in every way dominate, finally convert to Catholicism, the residents of any culture that was not Christian. That's the gist of it. And these edicts that were given out by the pontiff were called papal bulls. Just a footnote, but it is a little humorous, don't you think? The irony of the situation.
All right.
There you go.
All right. One thing he said that was very important, he said the last thing they do is do what? They convert you. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's the last, he said that's the last thing they do. They get you, they convert you, and they make you a Christian. Now he used Catholic because he's a Christian, but I'm going to show you in the document itself that it was dealing with Christians. That's what they would. Listen, these were Christians that came to these shores. These were believers that came to these shores. These were Protestant. Now, what is a Protestant? A Protestant is someone or a religious person that believes that their salvation is personal. You know, and the Protestant movement gave people the right to go and start their own ministry. That's why you have so many different denominations and so many different beliefs. That's why you have those things because of the Protestant movement. All right? It's very important to understand what the Protestant movement is. Now, he just spoke of a document, which is a law that they put in place. I want you to give me Zechariah chapter 11 and verse 5. Because you have to understand the spirit of Esau. The spirit of Esau, he has to try to rationalize what he's doing. He has to try to make sense of what he's doing. And I'm going to show you how he tried to make sense of the rape, the raping, the kidnapping, the beating, and all the things that took place in order to give us what? Christianity. You about to see. Watch this. Read.
What's on the screen? Zechariah 11:5. Book of Zechariah, chapter 11, verse 5.
Read.
Whose possessors slay them.
So our oppressors would be those enemies. Our oppressor would be Esau. Our oppressor would be the very ones, as the scripture says, that slay us. Read.
And hold themselves not guilty.
How would they hold themselves not guilty? They hold themselves not guilty through their policies. And their policies come through their laws, their statutes, and their judgments. Read.
And they that sell them say, Blessed be the Lord.
Come on.
For I am rich.
Read.
And their own shepherds pity them not.
Yes. So this is just how Esau rules, right? So now we're about to get into the document, the doctrine of discovery of 1493. Every Israelite should have this in his repertoire because this shows who came to these shores and what they came to these shores to do. All right? You got it out?
Come.
Let's get it.
They created laws to do their crimes. The papal bull Inter Cetera, issued by Pope Alexander VI
Hold on for a minute. I want y'all to understand Pope Alexander VI is the one that came up with the image of what we call today Yahweh Shah. The one that we call Jesus. The one that we pray to. Pope Alexander VI, he's the one that came up with this. So he's the one that issued this law. So along with this law came the image. Don't forget, came the image and came instructions. And these are the instructions. Read.
Pope Alexander VI on May 4th, 1493, played a central role in the Spanish conquest of the New World. The document supported Spain's strategy to ensure its exclusive right to the lands discovered by Columbus the previous year. The bull stated that any land not inhabited by Christians was available to be, quote unquote, discovered.
Stop right there for a second. I want y'all to really understand that, because, you know, a lot of us right now today is diehard Christians. Diehard Christians. And y'all trying to say that the people that came and colonized this land wasn't real Christians. I mean, to tell you, they were real Christians. They were real Christians. They are the ones that came and did it. They are the ones that taught you. You wouldn't even know English at all if they didn't come teach you Christianity. And remember what he said. That's an order that they are receiving from the Pope. That the papal bull states that if it's any land that is inhabited by Christians, or that is not inhabited by Christians, is available for discovery. That means they came and said, if you do not accept the Lord Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, we can take all your shit. Go ahead, Al.
Claimed and exploited by Christian rulers, and declared that the Catholic faith and the Christian religion be exalted and be everywhere increased and spread.
Isn't that what they do? This is what Christians, this is what blacks, Hispanics, and Israelites live for right now. To do the will of the papal bull, to spread their understanding of the gospel, their belief in the gospel, right? I'm going to show y'all. Keep reading now. Remember, these are Christians that came to our shores. You want to keep that in mind. You know, a lot of people like to say, a lot of Christians like to say that they don't like Donald Trump and he's a racist and he's a bad person. And I'll ask them, would you let Donald Trump teach you the gospel? Would you let Donald Trump teach you the Bible? They always say no. I mean, they tell you that the ancestors of Donald Trump that taught your ancestors the Bible was 10 times worse than Donald Trump. All right? And guess what? They taught your ancestors the gospel, and that's how you got it. I'm going to prove it. Keep reading now.
And that the health of souls be cared for, and that barbarous nations be overthrown and brought to the faith itself.
See that? Because you didn't believe. You didn't believe in our Jesus. So what did he do? The 13 colonies came, and that's what we're going to take a look at. We're going to take a look at the 13 colonies. Now, it says surprisingly, religion diversity in the Americans in the 13th colony, it was big. And it wasn't just Protestants that seek the place to freely practice their faith. It was a lot of different religions, a lot of different beliefs. You got that up?
Just read everything on the screen.
Okay.
The surprising religious diversity of America's 13 colonies. It was just Protestants seeking a place to freely practice their faiths. The story of religion in America's original 13 colonies often focuses on Puritans, Quakers, and other Protestants fleeing persecution in Europe.
I want you guys to understand that when it says Protestant, it's talking about you. You're a Protestant. If you Baptist, Pentecostal, AME, non-denomination, if you any of those denominations, you are a Protestant. And it says it. It says Quakers and other Protestants fleeing from persecution in Europe, looking to build a community of like-minded what? Believers. Christians right now today call themselves what? Believers. Like-minded believers, right? He goes and says Protestants were in. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Protestants were indeed in the majority, but the reality was far more diverse. Colonial America attracted true believers from a wide array of backgrounds and beliefs, including Judaism, Catholicism, and more.
It was just a big melting pot. It was just a big melting pot of what? Christians. Those that was leaving England because they wanted to come over here and practice their faith freely. They wanted to practice their denominations freely. All right? So in 1630, let's get it out. See about the 13 colonies. Go ahead.
In 1630, English Puritan lawyer John Winthrop, a founder of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, invoked the phrase, the city on the hill, to describe the new Christian religious community he and his fellow colonists should aspire to build in service to God Almighty.
Notice what notice. It says a new Christian religious community. These are Christians. The word, listen, Christianity is all over this. You cannot separate these murderers, these killers, from the invasion of this land, the trauma that we experienced, the kidnapping that took place, the raping that happened. You can't ignore it. You can't say, okay, well, I'm a Christian and they wasn't. That sounds silly. No, those were the ones that taught you Christianity. That's where you got it from. That's where you got everything from. Everything that you believe, that's where you got it from. Go ahead, Al.
After the Pilgrims arrived in New England in 1620, Puritans followed in the 1630s. Both had splintered from what's it? Slackers. Anglicanism.
It is the faith and practice.
Anglicanism. Slacker, yeah.
Go ahead.
Believing in the strict Protestant teachings of John Calvin.
Now, John Calvin believed. Now, listen, it's very important. When he says believe in the strict Protestant teaching of John Calvin, Calvinism believed that salvation was elected. It was a doctrine of elect. All right? That's what he believed. He believed that the people were chosen. All right? And that was a movement called Calvinism. All right? Keep going.
Who criticized England's church as still tainted by Catholicism. Once in the New World, Puritans gave their version of Protestantism a new name. Congregationalism. All these isms.
This right here, this is what y'all do today. I'm going to show you. This is just talking about congregations beating up on the same mind. Right there. It is a system of organization among Christian churches whereby individual local churches are largely self-governed. This is how you got your denomination. This is how your pastor was able to go and file paperwork and go and start his own church. This is how he was able to do it. This is the Protestant movement. This is the 13 colonies. This is how we was taught, right? Now check this out. This book right here is Africa's Gift to the Americans, right? Can you start right there where it says governor? Actually, start at the top. Start at the top slide. Can you see it?
Barely. There you go.
Now, this book right here, I got this book. It's actually downstairs. This book right here talks about the different things that took place during the transatlantic slave trade, during the invasion of this land, during the trauma that we experienced, right? And it's like page, I meant to have the page number up there, but we're going to read it. It's from Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers. You got it?
Zone out. See if you can find the page number right there.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Can you zone out? You wanted to give them the page number?
No, don't worry about it. Okay.
Pilgrims as drunks and sodomites.
These are the Christians. These are the Christians. Just like today. Today we have Christians that's drunks and sodomites. That same spirit that was on these pilgrims got on blacks, Hispanics, and Native American people. Go ahead, you got it?
Even the early pilgrims of New England, though very pious, or were forced to appear so, weren't all the hardworking, very desirable characters we've been led to believe.
They say that. Look, these wasn't nice guys like y'all think.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because they were Christians. They were monsters. They would come into your home and rape your daughter, your baby. She could be 4 or 5 years old. They'll rape her. These people are disgusting. All right. These were the Christians that came and robbed and killed and did all of the most despicable things you can probably imagine. And you know what's real heavy? You know, a lot of Christians like to talk about Israelites. They like to say that we bad characters. They like to say that we bad people. They like to say that listen, they don't know how to talk. But listen, your forefathers, the ones that taught you what you believe, this is who they were. They were drunks and sodomizers, right? Keep going up.
Governor Bradford, writing in 1642 of the severity of the punishments in his colony, said, and yet all this could not suppress the breaking out of sundry notorious sin, especially drunkenness and uncleanness.
This is how they was wild: drunkenness and uncleanness. Go ahead.
Nor is not. I think that's not only incontinence between persons unmarried.
So it wasn't just because people was laying with each other because they was unmarried. Read.
For which many, both men and women, have been punished sharply, but some married persons, but that which is even worse, sodomy.
This is what they did. This is your Christians. This is your Christians. Look, this didn't come from us. We didn't come on the shore to bring Christianity and it was raping and robbing. But you know what? Esau had to make sense of this. He had to make sense of this. And this, you ever heard the phrase people say, you know what? Science. They will always lean to what? Science. Science would be your statutes and your judgments. It would dictate how you judge things. And they will always say, science. Well, let me show you a scientist. Let me show you a scientist. And they said, now, this is the father of anthropology. He's an anthropologist. All right? They still follow his teachings today. If you ever heard of we are apes, we characterize as animals, this is where it comes from. He's the father of anthropologists. Anthropology. All right? His name is Carl von Linné. Right? This guy gave and allowed, when they came and they did, and I'm talking about those that came after the fact. Like, you had the first group that came over and did what they did, enslaved, raped, robbed, killed. But then you had the other group. And when you had the other group come over, those that was just coming over and they was just trying to get land, consciously, they had to be separated from what was right. Consciously, Esau had to be the devil that he was. So this is what they came up with. And you read that out. This is science. You know, people always say, well, look, science is in a book. And it's science. So it's written down. It's in a book. And it's science. It got to be true. Well, this is what he had to say. And we still listen and use this still to this day. This right here, scientists still, almost say, still use this to this day. Read out.
Science, Homo Europeanus, white, gentle, and inventive, and is regulated by law.
This is what he has to say about it. Look, he characterizes this by color, by race. And he says the white man is gentle, right? And he's regulated by law. Remember, I showed you. They do everything by law. They write the law on how they want to murder you, put it together, and then present it and then murder you, or rape, or rob you, or do any of the most despicable things and all the trauma that we experience. That's how they do it. Keep going.
Homo americanus, reddish tawny color, and is regulated by customs.
So he's saying that the Indians is regulated by color. By custom. Now when it says tartar, that's different shades of brown. So that reddish was different shades of brown. But he says that they were regulated by customs, right? Go ahead.
Homo asiaticus, as sallow, grave, dignified, and is ruled by opinion.
So he's ruled by opinion. So the Asiatic, the Asian man, he's ruled by opinions. But remember, they got to make sense of all the murdering and killing of the people that's coming over. And those that are coming over, they got to say, okay, well, we got to make sense of this. We have to make a distance between our cognites, what we know to be right, and what is being done. So they had to create a distance between that, and they did it through science, so that they can sit down and pray and ask the Lord to bless their table. How can they ask God to bless their table if they don't think this about those that they were enslaving? Go ahead.
Homo africanus, as black, lazy, lustful, cunning, careless, and governed by caprice.
Now, we still go by that today. We still use this today. And I'm talking about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We always say niggas is lazy. We say it all the time. Niggas is lazy. Even though we built this country, even though we work as hard. Listen, when they found bones of slaves that they had dug up, they had to excavate, and they did research on the bones, they found that the bones the muscle had separated from the bone from such hard labor, such hard work. But yet they quick to say that we're lazy. And we say it too. You got out.
Yes, look, even in this, they lying because the Homo Europeanus, it says white, gentle, and inventive. They stole everything that we invented. Like they attribute that to them.
Right.
And also, Kana in the chat says, Salakia, what is the name of the book?
What's the name of what?
The book that you're getting this from.
Oh, the book? He said book? There it is right there.
So it's in the book Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers.
Got it. So you got to remember, they were Christians. They were believers. They were coming to this shore, and they needed some type of cognitive to separate that, to let it know that they can't have no relation to it. They can't be conscious to it. They can't have no involvement in it. So they had to completely separate their intelligence from it. They had to completely separate what was right from it. They had to completely say, hey, listen, these are the people that y'all say that's innocent. Oh, we have some good white people. No, you didn't. Because they all came over here and they all stole the land. And by them stealing this land, this created that new birth. This was the beginning of that new birth. And it began that multi-generational trauma that took place. And this took place with all 12 tribes. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. Can you read that out?
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee.
We've heard this before. We've read this before. But now we're going to put this in perspective and understand that when he says this right here, read.
Thou shalt see it no more again.
It's talking about that land. Go ahead.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
When you get off that shit, it says, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies. It doesn't say you're going to go up for sale to your enemies. It's the action word that says you're going to be sold unto your enemies. Keep reading, huh?
For bondmen and bondwomen.
This is going to happen. Don't let nobody tell you that this didn't happen. We were sold. The action was taken. So if the action was taken, keep reading.
And no man shall buy you.
That that mean when it says no man shall buy you, it can't be contradicting itself. It can't say, and you shall be sold, but no man shall buy you. You just say, it would say, you'll be for sale to your enemies, and no man will buy you. But it can't say that the action took place and no man will buy you. No, the action took place, but no man will ever be able to redeem you. That's what it's saying, right? And in this Christianity became, this hostile environment became survival behaviors. Survival behaviors, and these survival behaviors took place as we were scattered. Deuteronomy 28 and 64.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
So remember, it says that we will be put on slave ships and we will go into bondage. And here it's saying that we will be scattered among all people. Read.
From the one end of the earth, even unto the other.
One.
And there thou shalt serve other gods.
Other gods. The word God means power. So you're going to serve other powers. You're not going to rely on the most high power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Read.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
So this is going to be something new that the fathers didn't know. This is going to something that's going to take place in the future. All right? Read.
Even wood and stone.
So we see the wood and the stone. We see the wood and we see the stone. Let's see how we got introduced to the wood. Because remember, now we in survival mode. We have to develop survival behaviors. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show y'all why. This right here is how we were introduced to this cross. This comes from a book called The Black Indians, Hidden Heritage, right? By William Lauren, what is that? Katz. All right? Can you see that up?
I got to blow it up. 1 second.
This is page 26. All right? And this is what happened when Christopher Columbus came to the shores. Remember, I'm claiming that these are Christians. All right? And you're going to see your doctrine right here in this document. Look, this is an insert from his diary. It says, "It is the beginning with Columbus. For the people of the Americans, the arrival of Columbus was hardly a blessing. On his first day, October the 12th, 1492, the explorer wrote in his diary." This is very, very important. Every Israelite should have this in their repertoire, because it shows also that the 12 tribes chart is solid. Listen to what he says. You got it out?
Come.
You got it.
It began with Columbus. For the people of the Americas, the arrival of Columbus was hardly a blessing. On his first day, October 12, 1492, the explorer wrote in his diary, quote, "I took some of the natives by force."
He said, "I took some natives by force." It shows the transatlantic slave trade started here. He didn't say, "I went over to Africa and took some natives by force." He says, "I came to the Americans and took." This is in Christopher Columbus' diary. There's no need for him to lie in his diary. Yes, and our brothers, the Native Americans that was here, they were put on slave ships and they were shipped out here. So the transatlantic slave trade started right here. And this is right from Christopher Columbus' diary. Read.
He later found the original inhabitants to be, quote unquote, tractable. Definition of tractable from the Oxford Dictionary: of a person easy to control or influence.
That's very important. So he's saying, look, they were easy to control and influence. Remember, we developed survival behaviors. Remember that. That's a part of that traumatic, that's a part of the post-traumatic slave syndrome. All right? To develop survival behavior in a hostile environment. All right, B.
Found the original inhabitants to be tractable, peaceful, and concluded there is not in the world a better nation. His response as a European was to say that Indians must be made to work and adopt our ways.
And to do what?
And adopt our ways.
And to do what?
And adopt our ways.
This is what we did. Remember what the paper bull said. He's just following orders. The paper bull says you gotta come, you gotta conquer, and then you gotta convert. This is why he says, made to work and to adopt our ways. Isn't that what we do today? We work and adopt their ways. Right? Go ahead.
The Christopher Columbus, whose unique seamanship and courage had opened the Americas to European penetration, also began the transatlantic slave trade.
He began what?
The transatlantic slave
So
trade.
the transatlantic slave trade started on this side of the earth. Go ahead, Al.
He started by shipping 10 chained Arawak men and women to Seville, Spain. In 1498, he wrote enthusiastically to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella about the business possibilities.
So he like excited. Like, look, I done found something good. The business is about to be great. We about to rape, rob, steal, kill, take everything. Not noticing on the other side, look, there's children over there. I want y'all to keep in mind, these were not just all adults. They were children. They were little girls and they were little boys. This is what I want you to get right here. Read.
From here, in the name of the Blessed Trinity.
In the blessed what?
In the name of the Blessed Trinity.
That's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This is what we believe. We believe in this Trinity. We believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And remember, he says to do what? To adopt our ways. So this was all done in the name of the Trinity. Go ahead.
We can send all the slaves that can be sold.
We can send all that be sold. So this is what he did. Read.
When he loaded 1,100 Taino men and women aboard 4 Spanish ships, the crowding and the stormy Atlantic crossing took a fearful toll. Only 300 survived.
So there he was knocking them down. But the point is, now we got to go to Islam. The point is, it was in the name of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So remember, but he says that we will worship what? Stone and wood. So what is the stone? You got that up?
Habakkuk 2, chapter 2, verse 19.
Now, I want y'all to understand, in this book right here, Satan's angels exposed.
Salaki.
Right? Can you see that up?
Can you blow up just a little bit more?
Yep. This is what it had to say about Muhammad and the Muslims. Go ahead. Remember now, the prophecy said, well, we will worship wood and stone. When we see the wood came with Christopher Columbus. It came in the form of a cross. It came with the doctrine of the Trinity. Right? But here we're going to read about this Islam. Go ahead.
Salaki, can you give me the name of the book? Can you zoom them out so I can see the name of this book?
There you go.
It's from Satan's Angels Exposed by Salem Kerr. Is that Kerr? Salem Kerr. All right. Kaaba stone. The center of this stone reverence was in Mecca. A square structure of stone in Mecca became their holiest shrine in the world. It was called Kaaba, which means cube. It has been rebuilt about 10 times. They believe the first Kaaba was erected by angels from heaven.
So now we see, I just want you to get that. So it was a stone. So that's what they all pray to. They pray 5 times a day to a rock. And this is what the Bible has to say about it. Read.
The book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 19. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, awake, to the dumb stone.
To the what?
To the dumb stone.
It's a dumb stone. It doesn't have any conscience. Go ahead.
Arise, it shall teach. Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it.
All right. So we see what the scriptures have to say about that. So now, what I'm about to play now is I'm about to play this sister who I got this understanding. I saw it. I thought it was so solid. This sister right here that talks about this. So I want to play this before I get into the theory of what I'm saying about this post-traumatic sleep syndrome. Here we go.
Behaviors, survival behaviors. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The black mother leans over to the white mother and says, I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well. And the white mother's response is, oh, thank you. She begins to go on and on about he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along. And the black mother responds, oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves. Now, when I'm working with African-American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course, there's a secret. Because everybody black knows that even though the black mother is going, oh my God, she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this black mother is working in the fields and a white slave owner comes through and says, wow, that boy is really coming along. What is she gonna say? No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, why can't you be proud of me? Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. PTSD is a disorder that occurs as a result of a single trauma. You don't even have to be there to actually.
Now, notice what she said. Hold on, slide. Hold on, let me move that. All right. So this sister right here, she broke that thing down, right? But she gave a great illustration on how it turned into what we know today. Like she said, if you hear a sister and she's talking about her son, you know that she loves her son. But that type of behavior started in slavery, and it turned into the norm. And now it turned into normal behavior, normal response, right? So this post-traumatic slave syndrome, it is a condition that exists as a consequence of multi-generational oppression of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American, which are the Israelites, and their descendants resulting from centuries of chattel slavery. So it was centuries of it. And a form of slavery which was predicated on the belief that African Americans, which are Israelites, was inherently, genetically inferior to whites. That this is why this came into being. And guess what? Remember, these were Christians, and we were not Christians yet. We were fighting against this. The first group was fighting against this. It's lucky. This was followed by institutional racism, which continued to perpetual injury. So the assault is continuing. The assault hasn't stopped. We're still going through the same assault right now. So now we have developed a condition. Now remember, it says etiology. I'm saying that right. Anyway, it is the cause, the set of cause and the manner of causation of a disease or condition. Well, let's look at one of the conditions. One of the conditions that we suffer from is called Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome, a strange bond. Stockholm syndrome is a strange bond between two parties. And this is what it is. Stockholm syndrome, this example, is a rare psychological condition that makes some victims bond with their captors and abusers. Christianity did that. Christianity psychologically was a condition. Was a teaching, was a doctrine that made us bond with our captors, those that was abusing us. And a disease is a particular abnormal condition that negatively affects the structure or function of all parts of the organism. That's us. That's us. All of this that we were going through were abnormal. It was abnormal, right? But what did we learn from this? I got a book. This book is called Religious Instruction to Negroes. All right? And what did we learn? We learned the adult slaves did not want to accept the God, but we couldn't tell our children. So we didn't want to, in this book, it shows that the adults didn't want to accept their gods, but we didn't want to tell our children. Why? The same reason why the sister was talking. Because our children will get what? Kidnapped, sold, raped, given up. Remember, in Deuteronomy 28:32, it says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given to another people. We saw our children being given to other people. We saw our children being shipped off, and thy eyes shall long and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in our hand. It'll be nothing that we'll be able to do. So we did not want to tell our children what? That we really didn't want to accept their God. We didn't want to tell our children. And that's the reason why. Because we didn't want to experience this. So we accepted Christianity to survive. So Christianity, we accepted it. It was a surviving tactic. That's what we accepted it. We accepted it to survive, not because we believed it. And we never told our children that we accepted it, we accepted their God so that they would not get sold. Because what would the kids do? If we told our children would do what? They would tell their children, oh, we don't really believe that. You know, kids can't hold it in. We don't really believe that. And guess what? We will be sold, beaten, or raped. All right? So what happened was we died and we never told our children why we were following their God. We never got a chance to tell our children that. So then what happened? Because we told our children that cycle continued to this day. That's a medical term called appropriate adaptation. We migrated into their belief. We accepted their doctrine for survival. But not telling our children that we did that so that they can survive. Because they had to survive because they would have risk of things like buck breaking. Buck breaking was one of the worst forms of punishment against enslaved men. And it was a sexual violation against enslaved men as a punishment for wrongdoing, for not accepting what we teach.
You all right? Sorry.
Yeah.
You need something?
But I got this. That's it. That's it. I'm strong. All right. So buck breaking was one of the things that we did not want our children to suffer because it was hostile developed surviving behavior. So this hostage situation, we don't want to be hostages. So this is what it says. A hostage and kidnapped survivors can experience stress reactions. Typical reaction occurs in thinking, intrusive thoughts. That means, hold on, let me see what that means. That's what I like about this, John. It means, I actually wrote this definition. Is a group of Pluton. No, that ain't it. It means unwanted thoughts. I wanted to bring up the definition, but kidnapping and being a hostage, it brings unwanted thoughts. It denies. It impairs memories. It decreases concentration. All of these things we suffered throughout school, throughout training. When we went to school, it was hard for us to concentrate. Well, maybe it was hard for us to concentrate is because we were developing surviving skills, right? We wanted to survive. And this is what we had to live through. Look at this right here. I wanted to pull this. I wanted to pull this right here and bring this. Look at right here. This right here is a hanging.
It's like so you're not sharing the screen.
It's not sharing? Right. Salakia. This right here is a hanging. Look at that. Look at all those people out there. All of those people are the people, those are Christians out there. Those are believers. Those are the people that came and taught you Christianity. And guess what? We would never know about any of this information at all. Don't get it twisted. They wasn't going out and studying the transatlantic slave trade and studying the effect on how it affected us. They wasn't studying that at all. The reason why this came to being is because of this lady right here, Dr. Rachel Yahuda. She was studying, and she did a study on the Holocaust. And they found out all of these things about the Holocaust victims. They wasn't thinking about us. They wasn't focused on us. We started adopting their ways. And by adopting their ways, guess what? They use what? Crafty counsel against us. They use crafty counsel against us. Crafty counsel against us. Psalms chapter 83. Let's get it out. We're about to wrap it up.
I got you. Book of Psalms chapter 83, verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy. They have taken crafty counsel.
It's very important to understand that crafty counsel. Go ahead.
Against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. This is Exodus chapter 1 and verse 10. This is more than time. Now, we already saw the crafty counsel. Now, this is when we was in Egypt. He says, come, and let us deal with them wisely. Deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when they're fallen out in war, they join alone unto all our enemies and fight against us. So this is when we was in Egypt. So you have crafty counsel and you have wise counsel. This crafty counsel and this wise counsel, we see it. It came in the form of abortion. Crafty and wise counsel. This is Exodus chapter 1 verse 8. It says, now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Verse 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and come to pass that when they're fallen out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So they had to deal wisely with them. So he said, and so get them up out of the land. So he wanted to reduce their numbers. How would you reduce their numbers? Through abortion. Verse 16. This is Exodus 1 and verse 16. He says, this is what the Pharaoh told to the midwives. When ye do of the office of the midwives to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stool, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. That's abort the child. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. You know why? Because Pharaoh knew that the seed of the father is what's important. That's what keeps that lineage going. The seed of the father. So what do we have? In the book of Deuteronomy, and it talked about, you can see it in my last class, it talked about if you don't follow the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. Listen to what the Most High says about the woman. This is about the woman. And we deal with this right now because why? We accepted Christianity. We accepted Christianity as a way of truth. It says the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set her sole of her foot on the ground for her delicacy and her tenderness. This is how we thought, and this is how we saw our women. Her eyes shall be evil towards her husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter, and towards her young ones that come out from between her legs, and towards her children, which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for what of all things secretly in the seeds of this, in the streamliness, wherewith thy enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. So when it says in verse 57, and towards the young ones that come out from between her legs, the most dangerous place right now for a black man is to be in the legs, in the womb of a woman, that come out of those legs. And you know why? Because a woman has a right to choose. The woman's right to choose led to this right here. All right, can you read that right there? Listen to this right here. This is Christianity. This is us accepting and developing survival skills to play along and not being allowed to tell our children that we really didn't accept that. We only accepted it so that you can survive. Read it out.
7 in 10 women who have had an abortion identify as a Christian.
That is horrible. 7 out of 10 women who get abortions identify as Christians. Go ahead.
The 70% of women who've had abortions that self-identify as a Christian includes Catholics, 27%, Protestants, 26%, non-denomination, 15%, non-denominational, 15%, and Orthodox, 2%.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Among Protestants, more identify as Baptists, 33%, Methodist, 11%, Presbyterian, 10%, or Lutheran, 9%.
These are all your Christians. These are all the ones that taught you what you believe. Go ahead, can you read?
Far fewer women who've had abortion identify as agnostic.
They're not Christians. That's for damn sure. Go ahead.
8%, atheists, 4%, Jewish, 3%, Muslim, 2%.
Why we should be down there.
Hindu, 1%.
Actually, we shouldn't even be on the list.
Buddhist, 1%, Latter-day Saint or Mormon, 1%, or Jehovah's Witness, 1%. Another 3% say other, and 7% say they have no religious preference.
And it's mighty funny, it's real crazy that the Christians will be at the top of the list. Blacks and Hispanics will be at the top of the list. Single mothers, read up.
Statistics say 70 to 75% of young black men growing up in a single woman house end up in prison. Single mothers that raise single girls, 68% end up single mothers themselves.
So single parenting from the mother is catastrophic. It's catastrophic. Well, what about the man? What about the man? Deuteronomy 28:54, read.
So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall lead.
So now let's look at the single parenting household for the fathers. Because a father needs to stay in the home. You need to fight to be in that home, man. You need to stand up and be a man in that home and be a man to your children. And you should not be so quick to leave, so quick to bounce, so quick to roll out. And the reason why is because of these stats. Listen, it is our job to save the family, save the body. We're the Christ. So single parenting household dealing with the father. Read.
Single parenting household, fathers got to stop leading, I guess.
Got to stop leading. Stop.
No, that's fine. You talk. Black and American Indian or Alaska Native kids are most likely to live in a single parent families. 64% of Black children and 49% of American Indigenous, American Indian or Alaska Native children fit this demographic.
Now watch this.
Single fathers or both parent household, young Black males have an 80% chance on not going to prison.
Not going to slide. Not going to prison. That's a very important stat right there. We should be fighting for our households just because of that. Because we should want to. But look at what the civil rights, the wise and crafty council did. Come on. We about to close
Civil rights, wise and crafty council. Before the civil rights movement, only 22% of Black children were raised in single parent families, which means that 78% of all Black families were structured around mothers and fathers. Is that a 0.5 or just 5? 5 with the
No, that's 5. Go ahead, just keep reading.
5. Oh, in the same year, 51% of Black families between ages of 15 and 44 were married and living with their husbands. Another 20% were divorced, widowed, or separated, and only 28% had never been married. By the 1970s, one writer argues the radical delegitimation of the family was so pervasive that even people at the center of power joined in. By 1994,
so this is after the civil rights movement. Go ahead.
By 1994, 56% of Black females were never married, while only 22% of Black children were born to unmarried women in the 1960s. 70% were by 1994. By 2010, 72% of Black children were born to unwed mothers. In 2015, 77% of Black children were born into fatherless households. This obviously had a catastrophic effect on our society in general. For example, in 1964, the unemployment rate for Black men ages 20 to 24 was 12.6%. By 1978, it was 20%. During the same period, crime rates, in particular those involving young Black men, went up.
All right, so you can kind of like see how it all played a role and how it all came together. All right, Deuteronomy 28, verse 48. Got to get ready. I'm close it down. Go ahead.
Therefore, you want me to read everything? Captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on.
All of these things happened to us. We were captured, we were shipped, we were sold, we was beaten, we was raped, and we was experimented on. Still to this day, right? And because of this is why this says this. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
So this right here, this is how we was destroyed. We were taught Christianity. And when we was taught Christianity, this is what happened. Adaptive behavior are skills that a person learns to cope with their environment and meet the expectations of society. This is adaptive behavior. And then when you add trauma to it, you add trauma to what we were being taught, you have Christianity. All right? You have appropriated adaptation when you are in a hostile environment. We accepted Christianity as a way of survival, but guess what? Our parents never got a chance to tell us why they did it. And because of that, it created multi-generational curse on us, multi-generational oppression on us, multi-generational trauma on us. Deuteronomy 28:37, it says, and thou shalt be an astonishment and a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee to be scattered. Think about it, in 1860, we were called slaves. 1900, we was called niggas. In 1920, they tried to find some dignity with it. They called us Negroes. 1940, we were colored. And in 1960, we were black. And in 1990, we were African Americans. What's next? So all of this led to exactly what you see right here. My God is the so-called white man. Christianity is a survival behavior, and it led to post-traumatic slave syndrome. It is a survival tactic that was never taught to us that it was only a survival tactic. And it became a way of life. It became our truth. It became what we fight for. All right, a couple things I couldn't get to, but this is what took place. All right, see any questions in the chat? Well, my time is. No questions in the chat? All right, so I'm going to turn the class over to Precinct Officer.
Damn right. Left up.
All right, ISUPK security announcements. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When new brothers and sisters come to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are ladies only. They are here to learn and share themselves of the world. They need transportation, teachable arrangement. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they have to seek counsel from the heads. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, be tense in Hebrew, Ma'ashra. That's 10% of every penny or any increase the Lord gives you. Priest funds, free will offer for priests is not mandatory, it's whatever amount you like to donate. Upcoming holy convocations, we have the Memorial Blowing the Trumpets, which is Friday, September 15th. It'll be held right here in the Smyrna location, Smyrna School. It's 202 North DuPont Boulevard. So come on out. All right. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. With that being said, Elijah Squat, Rock, Yahweh, Sim, Yahweh, Yahweh, sorry, when he's turning to get sister courtesy salute, sister Elijah, Elijah Shabbat, Elijah, Rock, Yahweh, Shema, Thumb, Shem, Yahweh, Yahweh, practice this.